on the bike, let's talk a little bit about road nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we went and did a 60-mile ride today.
Yeah.
What did you bring?
I brought 2 water bottles with a mix of electrolyte replacement, and the other mix was a little bit of a soy protein supplement.
Okay.
There's a lot of different brands that are out there. Personally, I use Cytomax for electrolyte replacements. Hammer makes some great products. I use Hammer Perpetuum, which is a soy protein based. And what I do is, it's a little thick at first, but I'll put 2 scoops of Cytomax in a bottle and 2 scoops of the Perpetuum, which has a little bit more protein for longevity, in the same bottle. Fill it with water, shake it up. As I get to the first water stop on the ride, I'll refill that same bottle. So that thins out a little bit. And a general rule of thumb is drink a bottle of water an hour.
Okay.
So you're getting enough hydration during the ride. I also brought 2 Cliff Builders bars. Those have about 20 grams of protein. I find the protein, again, that's a soy-based protein. I don't handle whey products too well.
Okay.
Or dairy, so I prefer a soy protein. But the protein kind of helps keep you from going through that spike. I'm not a big believer in some of the gels, if they have sugar. None of the stuff I use has sugar in it. There's sweetener like stevia,
Sure.
but not sugar, because sugar can kind of cause some intestinal distress as well. So I don't do any. Now the bars, I'll admit that the bars have some sugar in them, but the beverages, the powders don't.
Okay.
I just have not felt good when I've used any type of electrolyte replacement that has sugar in it. I usually, we talked a little bit yesterday about eating before a ride. I've experimented with fasting before riding. I'm not a nutritionist, so let me say that, but I've just experimented with things that work for me, and I've read articles, and there are some proponents that say, it's okay to fast before a ride. And I actually have had great rides. I don't bonk because your body is feeding on the glycogen stores. I always have coffee in the morning with lactose-free milk, so I'll have that every morning. But generally, I don't eat a lot before I work out. If I'm going to do a really long ride that day, maybe I'll eat a couple hours before, have a banana with peanut butter and a hard-boiled egg, just have some protein and some carbs in my system. But I'm generally okay going out on a ride with having nothing except the dinner I ate the night before. But the key is you have to get calories as you're riding. So it's not a good idea to go out on a long ride and just drink water because you're losing essential electrolytes that water's not replacing. You can actually get in a pretty badly deficient situation if you're not replacing the electrolytes. So there's a lot of science has gone into it. And again, I'm not a scientist, but I've experimented with what has worked for me. I've done 5 or 6 hour rides, 100 miles, 10,000 feet of climbing on basically that same principle of taking in about 230, 270 calories an hour, bottle of electrolyte replacement every hour. As long as you keep hydrating, take a little bit, you're not going to replace the calories that you're burning. You don't want to do that on the bike. You do that after. So you eat a good meal after you get home, but you don't have to, all those calories you're expending.
Well, there's no way you could really do that. If you're 1,000 calories an hour on the bike, you're not going to replenish that with. You'd be sitting down for a big meal every hour.
Your body's shutting down that. They can't handle that type of. So if you go on a bike ride and go eat lunch and then go ride again, you feel kind of loogy afterwards. So I like to do all that after the ride. So and again, that's what works for me. I mean, people have different nutritional needs, but that's one that's worked for me. Eating nothing or very little before a ride, but replacing calories and absolutely staying hydrated throughout the ride.
exactly. These are really good points. I usually ride in the morning before breakfast, before work and that kind of thing. So I go out typically without having anything. I do tend to bring a water bottle with me, and I do put some electrolyte drinks. I usually have like unsweetened Gatorade in there, and I'll water it down, or I'll use electrolyte tabs. But I'm not always riding 60, 70 miles, 100 miles before work. It can be like typically 25 to 40, and usually let's say 20 to 35 is probably more average or realistic. And so I'm not always even utilizing anything during those rides, because I used to do a lot of running, as you know, but I used to do a lot of running, and then for me to run a half marathon, it was never an issue. I would bring just a little bit of water with me, and it'd be a couple of hours down the road, and I would drink a third of this little thing I was running, and that was it. So and every 4 miles I'd take a few sips, and that was it, because I really got to a point where I was trained so much that I kind of got used to it, but it never bonked. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so you're in a problem if you bonk.
Yeah. You'll know it.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, man, get me home.
Those are the last 6 miles of the marathon. They talk about the wall. That's bonking. Your body is just running out of fuel. You don't want to ever be in that state when you're running on a bike or doing anything.
That's why
it's usually a sign that you can do more to improve your nutrition.
Yeah, so if you're doing more endurance stuff, like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, but to make it to 5 hours and 6 hours of anything, it's really important that you're eating something and replenishing before that time, right?
It doesn't have to be running or cycling. I mean, it could be skiing, cross-country skiing.
Exactly.
It could be race car drivers are using some of these same principles to refuel in these high-speed races where they're in the car in 100-plus degrees for over 3 or 4 hours. These 500-mile races, they're using some of these same principles to help stay alert and help get them through a race.
Absolutely, This is a very, very good point. So plan your rides, plan your runs, and as you increase your exercise volume, get used to what do you need to do.